What if I told you you could buy a watch that's both cheap and high quality? Because believe it or not, both of these can exist at the same time, and they can exist on a watch for as little as $100. Well, I've compiled a list of 10 watches that deliver exactly that. And if you end up buying multiple watches from this video and your wife or your partner gets mad at you, that's your fault, not mine, okay? I'm not to blame. Now, this first one will definitely raise a few eyebrows because a lot of people think I gave this watch a negative review, but that's not the case. And when it comes down to getting the best quality for the money, this one is definitely up there with the very best. I reviewed my first San Martin watch just a few weeks ago, and well, to be honest, the design of the watch just wasn't for me. I just felt like the design was missing a bit of spice. However, this of course is the most subjective element when it comes to enjoying a watch. Therefore, I know some will absolutely adore this ticker, and there is no doubt that the quality on this watch is ridiculously high. First of all, the finishing was exceptional for the money. Each section was clearly defined. A perfect polish, a super fine brush. It was way better than almost anything you'll find at the same price. The fit and feel of the bracelet and clasp was fantastic, with an on-the-fly system that means a perfect fit throughout the day. But I think the best part of this watch is that aventurine dial. This is a glass processing technique where the final product looks like a midnight sky. And if, like me, you're a bit of a space nerd, looking at these dials is an absolute joy. The timekeeping is taken care of by the Seiko NH34, meaning that we also get a fourth GMT hand to use against that brushed 24-hour fixed bezel. Now, I personally find it hard to enjoy a San Martin watch because I try and support the brands that are working hard to be original. But there is no doubt that this watch delivers a ridiculous level of quality for the price tag. And I'll leave links for most of the watches that I feature in this video down in the description, including the San Martin. Now, with this next watch, I first have to issue a massive apology. I reviewed this watch a couple of months back and the review went absolutely crazy. Basically, my review caused the watch to become harder to find at retail price than a brand new Submariner. I even saw some paying triple retail price for it on the secondary market because they wanted it that badly. First of all, never do that, and secondly, paying 3 times retail price for a Casio is absolute madness. The person who did that needs locking up today. Thankfully, stock at retail price has started to become available. I just hope that me mentioning it in this video doesn't cause the same issues. This is the Casio MTD-130D, a new Casio model that was released just earlier this year. In my full review, I called this watch a great alternative to the Seiko Alpinist, because I felt that was what Casio's aim to be with this watch, to create the ultimate adventure watch, perfect for mountaineering like the Alpinist. They first fulfilled this by an inner rotating compass bezel, one that had the smoothest inner bezel action I've ever experienced. Next, they gave the watch a swimmable 100-meter water resistance rating, so if the adventure gets rough, you'll be covered. And the most important part, unmissable legibility. If time is in a crunch, you need your watch to deliver the time as quickly as possible. And that's exactly what this Casio did. Big arrowed hands and chunky indexes against a black dial. Also, make sure you've hit that subscribe button if you want to see more top 10s like this, because I do them all the time. Now, this next one might just be the highest quality watch I've ever reviewed for the money. Yes, I think even higher quality for the money than San Martin. Typically, when Zelos releases a new watch, they sell out almost immediately. For some strange reason, this Mako GMT has actually been in stock now for a couple of months, which either means that Zelos upped to the production and delivered more stock than usual, or this watch hasn't been super popular with enthusiasts. Either way, this watch still being in stock is an absolute blessing if you need a high quality GMT. Now, this was my first experience with a Zelos watch, and let me tell you, after handling it, I understand the hype. The quality of this watch is off the charts. The finishing is exceptional. The watch feels premium in hands, and there is tons of detail on the watch to keep things interesting. The dial surface, for example, is incredibly dynamic. The finish is a deep black that actually features a subtle 3D construction, basically giving this dial different looks in different lighting conditions. What makes this one slightly better for me over the likes of San Martin is the functionality. This watch features the more premium Miyota 9075 True GMT movement, delivering a smoother sweep. But then we also have a ceramic bezel that can move to track multiple time zones much quicker, and the bezel action on this watch was simply superb. But I have to mention the bracelet and clasp too, amongst the best I've ever reviewed for sure. This one featured the spring-loaded on-the-fly system, which was an absolute joy to use. Yes, this watch is on the upper end of what most consider affordable, but it's unquestionably on the upper end of quality too. If you need a field watch that delivers fantastic quality for the price, then this is my #1 recommendation. Truth be told, this micro brand actually actually makes a few different field watches that could feature on this video. My personal favourite is actually the trench watch, which delivers a design based around the modified pocket watch worn on the wrist during World War I. But I can understand a lot of people not wanting this watch because of its super vintage inspired design, so I'll go a little bit more mass appealing with this suggestion just to please the comment section. This particular model is loosely inspired by the legendary Dirty Dozen, hence the model name D12. But one thing that really impressed me with this watch is how much detail they've managed to pack into the design while staying true to original. Instead of a boring flat black dial, we see a sandy grained texture, and from afar the dial looks to have no branding, but looking closer reveals the details. Vario embossed their logo into that grain dial finish. I see this as them paying respect to the Dirty Dozen design without trying to claim it as their own. Although the case shape has seen a bit of modernization, the size of the case at 37mm still pays respect to the originals, with drilled lugs added for quick strap changes. Vario also delivered small seconds like the Dirty Dozen, powered by a Miyota automatic movement, but a nice variety of case finishes and dual colour lume gives this watch that modern twist. Now the quality on this next watch is its biggest asset. It doesn't have the most competitive spec sheet, mainly because it's a dress watch competing with a lot of sports watches on this video, but it's the quality of the details on this watch that earns it a place on today's list. Also take into consideration this is a Japanese made watch, so naturally it's going to be a bit less competitive than ones made in China. But in terms of a micro brand dress watch, this is absolutely up there with the very best in my opinion. Kuoe has quickly risen to become a fan favourite in the enthusiast community. They've done this by simply delivering great quality watches, and once you actually see and wear a Kuoe watch, I think you'll understand why they are so popular. The quality of the components on the watch is exceptional. The case finishing is basic but done to an immaculate level, but the dial of the watch is far from basic. It features an ivory waffled texture that just screams quality. Combine that with the super sharp golden indexes and hands, and you have a visual experience that feels luxurious. Now availability on this watch is a little bit spicy dicey because it is a super popular piece. As of the time of recording, this watch is sold out, but it will be coming back into stock at some point soon. So if this is a watch that you need for your collection, join the stock alerts on the Kuoe website, and if you can muster up the courage to wait for this to become available again, you'll be getting one exceptionally beautiful dress watch for the cash that you pay. Now this next pick is the newest watch on today's video. In fact, it's that new, it's yet to be even made. So yeah, this watch is currently on pre-order on Kickstarter, but that means one thing: an eye-wateringly low price for the quality of watch that you get. I had the absolute pleasure of having the prototypes in for review recently, and I was beyond impressed with the quality and design on offer for the asking price. This is the second release by British micro brand Monro Adventure, and let me tell you what a second release this is. They've somehow managed to make one of the most compelling options when it comes to an affordable diver on their second ever attempt. I called this watch a Tudor Black Bay alternative in the full review because of its black dial, golden accents and oyster style bracelet, but truth be told, this is a watch with originality pumping right through its spine. The large handset is bespoke to Monro, which stretches right out to the minute track. The ceramic bezel features a generous amount of lume, with two types used throughout the watch, and the fit and finish of the bracelet is fantastic. Monro was originally planning on releasing this watch with the Seiko NH35, but because there's no date aperture on the dial, it would have featured a ghost date position. Monro, however, has listened to community feedback and decided to switch the movement to the NH38 for full production. I am so pleased that they've done this, without even increasing the Kickstarter price too. Listening to community feedback is always something that I respect, and with that new upgraded movement choice, this is one seriously compelling option when it comes to quality for the money. And there is actually still a few spots to get yourself one of these at that ridiculously low Kickstarter price. Quality is often something that is mostly visible in the details, but I think you can genuinely see the quality on this next watch without even having to look too close. It's clear that this watch takes inspiration from the ethos of the likes of Grand Seiko, with this watch focusing on keeping things simple but executing them to an extreme level. This watch had some of the most impressive finishing I have ever seen. Not only with the quality of finishing, but also the choice of finishes throughout the watch. It's hard not to see the 70s vibe in this watch's case and bracelet. It's only an integrated bracelet away from being in that family. But the traditional lug opening, I'm sure, will be a big plus to some, allowing you to actually switch up the style unlike most watches within this category. I think a good comparison for this watch would be the Tissot PRX, not only for the style but also the price. I've handled both and I can confidently say that this Monbrey MB1 is head and shoulders better in every single department. And I'm not just saying that for dramatic effect, it was genuinely better everywhere. On the fly clasp, high beat movement, and most importantly for this style, a beautiful wrist roll. Now depending on which dial color you choose, there's different materials offered. I had the turquoise dial variant that had an enamel coating. This delivered a deep visual experience that paired so well with the sharpness to the indices and hands. They've also just released a black enamel dial version with golden accents, which is now my personal favorite from the collection. If you enjoy 70s design in your watches, this should seriously be on your consideration list. I believe I've called this next watch the highest quality microbrand diver I've ever reviewed. I do think that the crown for that accolade now goes to the Zelos Mako we discussed earlier, but this is absolutely a close second. And if you want to be anal about it, the Zelos is not technically a diver because it doesn't have a dive time bezel, where this watch is genuinely an out and out diver. This watch over delivers when it comes to a classic black dial dive watch. It takes the requirements, turns them up to 10, and adds some extra character for good measure. Take the dial for example. What can occasionally look like a flat black finish can sometimes come to life with a honeycomb carbon-like effect. The stainless steel case looks standard, but this is actually the more exclusive 904L steel that's used by the likes of Rolex. This grade of steel achieves a higher polish than your regular 316L, which explains Wise's decision to give this watch a completely polished finish. I think that one sign of a seriously well-made watch is the bezel action, and the functionality of this bezel is nothing but premium. The sound of the bezel on that watch was more satisfying than popping a seal on a tube of Pringles. I had the version with the FKM rubber strap, but Wise has since released a bracelet for this watch, which for an extra $30 looks to be the better choice. Now I would actually opt for one of the dials with a bit of colour. I think it would complement the dial texture more than the black that I had. But whatever you go for here, you're getting one of the highest quality microbrand divers on the market. Now if you need a classy dress watch and you've got less than $100 to spend, then this next Casio should be one that you take a look at. First of all, this is a smaller watch, so if you have a preference for bigger watches, or you're too insecure to wear something a bit smaller in size, then you can skip ahead to the next suggestion. But for those of you who prefer watches that are a bit more classical in size, this Casio delivers. Now I had a lot of comments on my full review of this watch calling it a lady's timepiece, and truth be told, that's what Casio's target audience might have been with this watch. But I don't give two shits if Casio or anyone else for that matter thinks that the watch I'm wearing is ladies or not. All I know is that this beautiful little Casio looks great on my wrist and it's an epic watch for the price. Now obviously if you compare this Casio with almost anything else on today's video, it does fall short on quality, but you do have to take into account both brand and price when you're considering these factors. For example, the stainless steel case on this Casio is a seldom seen feature on an affordable Casio. The supplied strap is worlds better than what you typically get out of the box with Casio, but it's that tank style design which really makes this one special. Finding a rectangular dress watch with Roman numerals and a good brand name on the dial isn't easy, especially one that has as much charm as this little Casio. And if you also think that this Casio isn't too small, then drop this video a like rating so I can see who agrees with me. But could we really make a video about cheap watches that deliver high quality and not feature a Seiko? Although some of the modern Seiko 5 catalogue could absolutely feature on this video, we'll be visiting the old school 5 range for a hidden gem pick. I recently featured this watch in a review calling it a cool Rolex Explorer alternative. Of course because of the Arabic numerals at the 12 and 6 delivering almost the exact same font as the popular Rolex. But then the case design and overall vibe of the watch delivers an Explorer-like experience too. But I do always feel the need to warn newer collectors about the movement that's inside of these old school 5s. Because if you haven't yet experienced the 7S26, then you're in for a treat. This automatic movement is about as basic as it gets. It has a nice slow beat rate with a standard power reserve, but it's the lack of hacking seconds and manual winding that newer collectors will find strange. Yes, you have to give the watch a shake to get it going, and you won't be able to set the watch to perfect time. But this kind of adds to the charm that these Seikos deliver. They aren't perfect, but they're just cool. And aside from the dinosaur movement, the rest of the watch is up to standard with modern Seiko 5s anyway. The finish to the case, for example, on this watch was fantastic for the $100 price tag, and the detail on the dial rivals just about any modern Seiko 5. The only area that is genuinely terrible is the supplied bracelet, but a simple strap change genuinely makes this watch fantastic. But if your watch addiction still isn't satisfied, then here is another juicy top 10 video that I made recently that you should go and watch. There's some great watches in that video too, maybe even better than this one. You'll probably find something over there. Go and check it out. I'll see you over there, guys. Bye for now.